Kakadosh Boker Tov. We're continuing now with Siman Res Samech Vav. Siman Res Samech Vav in Shulchan Aruch speaks about a very interesting case, which is Mishik Shikha Baderech, which means that you're traveling, and obviously you made the necessary, we're going to say, preparations to travel Erev Shabbat on time, but because of force majeure and the Satan is always around, so all of a sudden what happens is that a person becomes late. So now what happens is that he has on top of him, whether it's going to be things which are muktzeh, or he's got other things which is on top of him, but he's not allowed to carry them because, let's say, there's no eruv, or there's other things like this. So therefore the question is, what do we do right now? It already becomes Shabbat, and right now he's in a problem, right? Why? Because all of a sudden, sometimes it happens. I remember somebody once gave me a phone call. He told me, Rabbi, we're on the plane, right? And what happened was the plane got delayed, but it wasn't that they were off the plane. They were already on the plane, and they got delayed for 1 hour, 2 hours, and they're still on the plane. And all of a sudden, I remember that the plane got here, I think it was like 10 minutes before Shabbat, things like that. Now, what do you do in these situations? So here, Shulchan Aruch comes, and he says something very, very interesting. Even though we know that you're not allowed to benefit from a melacha of a goy, or for you yourself to do a melacha, sometimes the rabbis permitted you to do a melacha d'Rabbanan, or they permitted you to benefit from a goy, because Adam bahul al mamono. What does that mean? A person, he gets very, very nervous, right, when he's going to lose his property, or he's going to lose, right, any type of a property that a person will have, any part of his money. That's why also the same halacha would apply later on when we're talking about hilchot dleka, which is Siman Shin Lamed Daled. Maran also is based upon the Gemarot, is the same thing. If there's a fire, so therefore nowadays, obviously, this is brought down over there. Nowadays, any type of a fire is dangerous because it could spread. There's electricity, there's gas, there's everything, and therefore it could make a very, very big problem, and it becomes danger to life. But in the olden days, if there was a fire, and let's say right now the fire would continue going, but it's not a danger to anybody. One house was over here, another house was I don't know how many meters or whatever it is further away. There wasn't such close proximity. So therefore the halacha was, if there's a fire, you just let the fire go, right? You don't turn off the fire. You can't turn off the fire. How are you going to turn off a fire, right? Even if it's going to be only a d'Rabbanan, because you're going to be mechaben, it's not going to be for something that you're going to benefit for a positive. It's only going to be a melacha she'enet tzricha l'gufa, that you don't need it, but still you weren't permitted to. Nowadays, obviously, you are permitted to, just because why? Just because it becomes dangerous. But over there also, there were certain things that even if there was no eruv, there would be a permission to take out from the house certain items. Why? Because Adam bahul al mamono, which means that a person is nervous about his money, and if you're not going to permit him to do this isur d'Rabbanan, even if it's going to be through himself or through a goy, so then what happens is we are going to suspect that he's going to do isur d'oraita, which means we suspect that he's going to do something much worse. And therefore they were going to be more lenient, right, on certain halachot. So here, just to start the halacha, he says like this: if a person right now is traveling on the path on Erev Shabbat, and he was force majeure, all of a sudden he was late to get to his place, and it already came Shabbat, he's got money or other items as well, he's found in a place where there's no eruv, and he's not allowed to carry it, or for example, even more so, it's actually muktzeh, and therefore you cannot carry it, or you cannot go from Reshut Rabim to Reshut Yachid, or from one place to another, because you can't transport from one domain to another domain. So he comes and he says, the Chachamim, they came and they permitted during certain circumstances to come and to be over and Isud Rabbanan, for example, to give it to a goy that he's going to watch over it, or that the goy will come and take it, transport it from one place to another. And sometimes the rabbis even permitted it for him himself, right, to continue doing, or to do an Isur Rabbanan, right, or to put it from one Reshut to another Reshut. Here he comes and he says, obviously, it's talking about Reshut Rabin to Reshut Yachid Shinui, right, that means basically you're doing a Rabbanan, you're not doing an Isur Doraita, and he says the reason why is because Adam Bahul al Mamono. Here the Shulchan Aruch is going to bring a whole bunch of cases, which we're not going to speak about, because nowadays it's not that common, about the animal, about putting it on the animal, then the animal continues, all these other things. However, though, this is just very, very important, so we'll just mention the last halacha. Somebody that's going on the path that he sees that it's already becoming Shabbat, and he's got money, other things, and he has a goy with him, that he's somech on the goy. What he could do is he could give the property or the utensils, whatever it is, the money to the goy, right, in order to take it to the certain place. But he says if it's still during the day, what he should do is he should be kovea lo sachar, to do kabbalanut, which means he should come and say, listen, right, you're going to watch over my money. Here, I'm going to pay you whatever it is, $100. Now you're in charge of all my money. He gives it to me, and now the goy is going to come and start transporting it for wherever he can, because obviously he cannot do it for the rest of the time. This could happen with your car, this could happen with anything, that a person right now, it's becoming Shabbat, he's stranded in the middle of the street, and now he gives it to the goy, he tells the goy, listen, you're in charge of my car, take it, you know, this is my address, but here's $100, you're in charge of this, right, and so on and so forth. So by doing it in such a form, again, even though usually you're not allowed to benefit from a melachav goy, here the rabbis permitted in order that you shouldn't come to do much worse isurim.